is going to introduce herself, because if I try to introduce her, maybe I'll do a disservice. I mean, we need to be in a position where we know exactly who Nyasha Bandason is. But I will try to introduce her in my own words, and I know that Nyasha is one of the trailblazers within the pharma industry. Pharmaceuticals in Zimbabwe. She's doing some amazing work, working alongside the health professionals, again, the doctors and nurses, hospitals, clinics, and so on and so forth. Nyasha is one of the most consistent people I've ever met. And the reason why she's here tonight is because we want to discuss a few things. One, which is her work as a pharmacist, as well as her business, as well as the podcast hosting that she started recently. So, Nyasha, could you please introduce yourself, please, to the audience?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Tendai, for those very, very kind words. Quite humbling to hear someone else, I think, say that. But yes, first of all, okay, my name is Nyasha Bandason, as introduced by Tendai. I'm a pharmacist by profession. I've also studied public health and health economics. So my area of interest has always been pharmacy. So I came back here to Zimbabwe, started practicing. I first started off as my pre-reg here, started off my career in retail, then moved into wholesale and distribution. So I worked for a while for one of the top four companies, I think, in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
Then along the way, I decided to also open a retail pharmacy of my own. I decided to also at one point in time open a consultancy company of my own. So that's the one that you see here written hdh.co.zw. So it's a pharmaceutical consultancy firm. So it helps a number of businesses and entities who are also interested in expanding the pharmaceutical space, whether they're a wholesaler or distributor, or they also want some training in the field, because sometimes pharmaceutical marketing is slightly different. Then eventually what I did is this year, I also decided to register my own pharmaceutical distribution company. And,
Oh, wow.
I think the entrepreneurial spirit in me, yeah, got the best of me. Then I said, hey, let me just open my own distribution outlet. So we started off distributing some face masks, some consumables, then also prescription medicines. Yeah, quite a wide range of products that are present, and over-the-counter products for pharmacies. So wide range of things that I'm doing. And
Wow.
as you mentioned lastly is the podcast. So last month, I decided to finally launch the podcast. I realized with I think the recent pandemic, there was also a big space that was there. There was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. There was a gap between us, I think, as healthcare professionals and the people that we sometimes serve. So I wanted to bring a space where I can be informative. So I have a bunch of colleagues and individuals within the industry, healthcare professionals, or anyone who does any work that affects healthcare space. So many issues to do with health, medical, and wellness space. I decided to cover that. So I think right now I should be on episode 3. Episode 4 is coming up soon enough. But I think a lot of interesting information. You also find, I think, a lot of the key and amazing people that are doing so much work behind the scenes. I think sometimes we also don't get a chance to see
Mhm.
them and their stories. So I was
Yes.
hoping that this will be the platform to share that. Yeah. So thank you.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a massive introduction, and it seems like you're doing quite a
Sorry.
lot, quite a lot of
Yeah.
work within the pharmaceutical space. Um, I've been watching you. I've been watching all the episodes. I watched all the episodes,
Thank you.
and I've seen the amazing work that you're doing, especially with the people within the same industry. Now, my question, I think, to that before we move on to the meat of this conversation, I just wanted to know a little bit more about what a pharmacist really does, because I know pharmacy, I know pharmacists, but I don't really understand what really do you guys do.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'll explain that briefly. So, pharmacist is an expert when it comes to medicine. So, our main core area is looking at the clinical side in terms of how medicine works, how it affects the body. So, you find pharmacists also work in different spaces. You can have a pharmacy who decides to work in community pharmacy. So, these are the retail pharmacies that you see a lot of people where they go with their prescription, or if they're not feeling well, they go to a pharmacy and speak to the pharmacist there. They give them advice with regard to maybe their condition, refer them to a doctor or nurse, and also sell them their medication. You also have pharmacists like me who've also expanded into other areas where you can work in the industry, you can work in the whole supply chain of bringing the medicines to the market. You've got some pharmacists who also work in the area of research, and also some who work in the area of regulation, and some who are also in academia. So you've got a wide range and area, but mainly your pharmacists are the experts when it comes to medicine.
Whoa. Right. Okay. Where should I go next? I'm actually gobsmacked because those are some of the things that I didn't actually know about your profession. But it is very important for us to be able to understand what exactly do you guys do. Because we have this is a construction worker, but exactly where do you work? What do you really do in your profession? And now understanding the essence of your profession is very critical. It's key for us to really give you the credit that you guys deserve. Because right now is, as we all know, we're in the middle of the pandemic. I think we're at the end of it. From the look of things are getting a little bit better. Life is getting back to normal, bit by bit. But then you guys have been right in the middle of it all. And we appreciate you for that. You know, we appreciate you for pushing. We appreciate you for giving us the healing that we needed. Now, so Nyasha, you're also an entrepreneur, and you're working on you own a pharmacy, or you own pharmacies, right?
The pharmacy, yeah,
You
but
own a pharmacy.
Yeah, I think I'm transitioning mainly into the distribution side. There are a couple of other projects coming up, but I won't mention it yet. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. No, that's fair enough. Right. So I just wanted to know, at the moment, you've got Summer. Is it Summer Pharmaceutical?
Yes, Summer Pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
Summer Pharmaceutical. In business, usually when we come on these platforms, what we're trying to do is to try and sort of motivate other people to really understand the importance of business and the challenges that you do face. When you're getting into a business or you want to become an entrepreneur. We also want to sort of showcase, some of the work that you are doing as an entrepreneur within that space. But the most important thing is, when people see you, they only see success. We only see the outside. We only see Nyasha who is happy. We only see Nyasha who is so successful when it comes to business. But can you maybe tell us a little bit more about the challenges that you did face when you're starting off as an entrepreneur, and how did you start? How did you actually get into that pharmaceutical business?
Okay. No, thanks so much, Tanda. I think that's a very good question. I think it's always easier to see the outside and, you see the finished product and you think, oh, okay, wow, someone is successful, someone is making it, but you don't see how much work is there behind the scenes. I think as an entrepreneur, I've learned so much. And the one thing that I can say and I'm grateful for is a whole host of mentors that I've had throughout my career. From the time I was even in training and as a pre-reg, I remember I had a gap where I think for a couple of months when I did come back, where I could not even find, I think, a job placement. So, I mean, it's sometimes that difficult. Then when you finally do get a chance to do an internship, you also get a chance to learn quite a lot from the people that are already there in the industry. And I always say just maximize the time that you have with such people and keep such networks close. Because tomorrow you also never know. Because I've always taken an approach within the industry where I've been mentored by some great people, but I've also tried to turn around and also help in terms of the industry. So I've always tried to take up some, leadership positions, be involved even in the industry committees, be involved in the different associations so you can know everything that is going on in the industry and get involved in each and every part and aspect. So I've been involved in every part from, the supply chain where you're dealing with the manufacturers of the products. You see where some of these products are made. You also get training in terms of, once the product is a finished product, how to sell it. What are the key ways to look at it? You also get a huge network when it comes to the doctors and the people you work with day to day in the field. Sometimes it's also important just to be friendly and to be there. You're not constantly in their face trying to sell something. Remember, we're all human too at the end of the day, and people need help and support. So it's also about, leveraging and leaning on them. Another key important part, I'll tell you, a challenge is always, I think, finance and operating in this environment. I think I always open my businesses in the toughest of times in Zimbabwe. So it was always, not the easiest of things. So sometimes, I think when I first opened the pharmacy, it was 2016. I think going on to 2017, not such an easy time because I think a lot was now changing in the environment. So it wasn't so easy to set up a business. When you think about the steps to set up a business, from company registration to registering with the revenue authority to making sure you do your accounting, your books, I'll tell you, a great team always helps.
Mm,
Also, as part of that team, I think accountants are key, and also your legal side is key. Lawyers are
yeah,
underestimated. Make
yeah,
sure you've got the paperwork. Make sure you've got agreements in place with whichever partners that you're going to have, because sometimes that's also a challenge when you do find sometimes partnerships sometimes can fall apart, or you can have certain issues, or you want to borrow money. You want to make sure your business is structured in the correct way. And also, once you start having systems in place, I guess I'm working also in a very regulated industry.
oh
So
yeah.
when it comes to standards and regulations and processes, the best thing is to have them in place so that tomorrow it's much easier to manage and handle your business.
Wow, that's impressive. This is something that, I mean, it's first time, or you're the first guest to actually mention mentors, because I always ask that question to most of my guests, and the reason why that is, it's very critical for people to understand the importance of a mentor if you're starting off a business. It's very easy for someone to give up. When you start something, you'll be like, oh no, I
Oh,
can't, I
yeah.
can't. Yeah, it's the struggles. There's loads and loads of struggles that you have to go through, a lot of hurdles that you need to cross for you to be able to be seen as someone who is doing some work, some amazing work. And you're telling me about you know some of the challenges you faced, but I just need to hear a little bit about the wins as well. Um, what do you accredit, or whom do you accredit the wins to? Is it the mentors? Is it the friends? Or what was your support structure like when you started?
Oh, yeah, I think support structure, I'll tell you, biggest one or biggest two, I think will be family. I
Mm-hmm.
think family always did play a big role. I think in terms of grounding you, it always does help to turn to family, because sometimes entrepreneurship is a very sometimes lonely journey and a
It is.
tough journey. And sometimes you're also believing that, oh, I want to do this and I want to do, you've got so many things on your plate. So family, I think a big one. And honestly, sometimes God, prayer. Sometimes I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, you'll have very difficult and dark moments. You will
Wow.
sit there and kneel and pray and say, and sometimes, when you look back and, pray for during the good times, pray during the bad times and the tough times, and you will get through it. Um, yeah, I think those were the main two, I think, pillars. I think for me, outside, if I think of the industry mentors, and sometimes I think sharing the journey with other entrepreneurs and friends who are also walking a similar journey,
Mm.
because sometimes you find as entrepreneurs you share similar struggles and challenges. So as long as you also continue to plug in and you let each other know and share your struggles, it does help along the way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, Entrepreneurship and prayer, people tend to want to separate the two. But I like the fact that you've actually shared a piece of your spirituality side, which is quite important, because I always do. I like to sort of err on the side of caution, especially with some people that don't really believe that prayer really works. So I do have some spiritual sessions that I do outside of this, just to speak about, you know, what's the importance of prayer, especially when you're starting business and so on and so forth. We do see guidance in some places that we think are the best places to see guidance from. But the most important thing for me, I think, when I started my business as well, it was to understand that there is a bigger name that you always need to associate, especially when you want to do something, like a business or something like that. Darker moments,
Yes.
like you
Yeah.
mentioned, they do creep in quite a lot,
Oh,
especially when
yeah.
you're starting something great. So
Yes. No, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. Now, why did you decide to get into business, Nyasha? Why pharmaceuticals? I know you've studied that. There's a lot of people that have studied politics, and they end up doing selling whatever, maybe cooking oil or whatever it is. And why did you start? Why did you go into pharmaceuticals? Is this something that you had pre-planned when you were studying, or is something that you just, decided to do at a later stage?
Okay. I think for me, I'd always enjoyed the field of pharmacy, and I think the
Mhm,
thought of even helping people, because sometimes when you think of pharmacy, it's beyond just. I think you can go beyond thinking about the products. Sometimes,
mhm.
remember, when you're in the pharmacy, the pharmacist can help check your blood pressure, talk to you about even your certain medical conditions, or even explain to you that if you do take this product, these are some of the side effects. So pharmacists also play a strong role even in counseling and helping patients when it comes to using their medicine properly or even understanding their conditions. So for me, I think given my family background, I also always enjoyed knowing a bit about the medical space and field and helping people when it comes to their medication.
Mm,
Another passion for me, remember, I'd also studied a bit of, public health and health economics. So from there, I think I understood a lot more about, there's a global issue, I think, or bigger issue when it comes to
yes,
healthcare and
yes.
thinking about, look, issues around access to medicines. Can people afford medicines? Are medicines available in certain parts of the world and region? And I think this is what also always drives me to try create a better system. I mean, it's one patient at a time or one organization at a time that you help, but it's something for me. So I think I've always been drawn to that. And
Mm,
for business, it's just as a mixture of both, and to make sure that you can also have some sort of income, I think, on a month to month basis, but you're also still doing something that you're passionate about. So I still enjoy, networking with, speaking to the doctors, the nurses, speaking to the patients, and also hearing some of their stories when sometimes they also recover and they feel much better, or they understand their products much better or condition. So that's why, yeah.
wow, that's a good reason. That's a good reason. Because I just was wondering what's really going on here. Nyasha, she's now a podcast host. She's also a
Yeah.
pharmacist, and she's an entrepreneur. What exactly makes you tick, and what made you go into pharmaceuticals? So yeah, that's a very good reason, to try and sort of provide care to others. Now, um, we are actually living in a world of technology, where technology is taking over. And talking digital technology, and some of the improvements that are actually happening within various sectors. I've realized, through research that in Africa we seem to be sort of tracking behind a little bit. We always been in a position where we just want to jump on a bandwagon, and try to do copy and paste methods in each and every single thing that we do that is related to technology. Now, I just wanted to know a little bit about you personally, within your business. Are you looking to incorporate technologies that would actually make your business a little bit more efficient? And do you think it is our time for your sector to really embrace adoption of technology?
Yes, I'll say definitely tonight, definitely.
Yeah.
I think looking at the pandemic and I think even if you watch, I think even the last podcast episode, you found that I think with the pandemic, it gave whether it's healthcare professionals or whether it's the patients in the industry or just people in general, there was
Mm,
also a renewed interest that look, how do we adapt and change and become better even within our healthcare systems. So one of the key things is actually technology to help us unlock some of these advances. If you
mm,
actually look at our industry, um, in general, there've been a number of changes that have happened. You're finding that there are more pharmacies who are now engaged in, say, creating websites and apps to make sure that patients can log in and then be able to get delivery of the medication to their home once they've interacted with that pharmacist there.
mm.
So you're finding it bit by bit, it is coming in. I think through a lot of the social media, the communication, patients have more access to information. So you
Yes.
find that we're forced in a way to start moving forward with the trends. So we have to get there and we have to move on. And I think technology plays an important role. There are other ways technology can play an important role. This is to do with issues around, let's say, track and trace of medicines. You also want to
Yes.
get feedback when it comes to the medicines, telemedicine, where at least doctors and nurses can actually speak to their patients
Mm.
via such platforms. So we find technology plays a very, very critical role. As for my own organization with Summer Pharmaceuticals, eventually I'll be working on creating an interactive online space for the patients, not patients, for the customers that I do serve. So as a wholesale, I mainly serve other businesses. So it would be your pharmacies, other wholesalers, hospitals, and different doctors. So they will be able to eventually log in, see what they're looking for online, be able to quickly place an order, and then they can get the order right to their doorstep. So slowly but surely, yeah, working on that. But one thing I can just say about technology is that one, you need the infrastructure there. And
Yeah.
secondly, it also does need to be affordable. So hopefully we're getting to a stage where these tools are cheaper and cheaper to build, and they're
Mhm.
also still reasonably priced to maintain. Because sometimes you can introduce an amazing technology. I've seen so many amazing ones, trust me, during my consultancy.
Yeah.
But sometimes you find that, unfortunately, it's not the most cost efficient method or sustainable for the entire country.
Mm, mm. I
Yeah.
like it when people speak about technology the way you do, because usually we separate business, isn't it? I know I'm a pharmacist, so I'm not going to speak about technology because that's it
Yeah.
doesn't concern me. Technology doesn't concern me. Speak to the minister of technology; they'll be able to tell
No,
you more.
I'll tell you, with this industry now, we're so connected more than ever. If you look at digital side, and I think even how I speak about it on some of, you can, take a look at my channel and see how much I speak about it. But you find that with healthcare, it's a multidisciplinary team. It's a
It
group of
is.
people. So these
Mhm.
people can be, whether it's your accountants, your lawyers, your digital guys, your web developers, your marketing guys. Everyone plays a role, I think, somewhere and somehow. So you find that even with the pandemic, even in the help of spreading information to people, that's already a role played using technology because people are
Yes.
connected. So there's no doubt in terms of where they're getting the information. So let's make sure they get the correct information.
I'd love to work with you to sort of you know uh, push the technology side, especially within the pharmaceutical space. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we've got a company called IGG, which is based in Zimbabwe, Invida's Growth Group. So basically, what we do is we find some of the challenges that most businesses are facing. Let's say, within any space, really, any key sector, whatever challenges that you guys are facing, then we can find a solution to that problem. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely be interested in wanting to know a little bit more about what challenges you're facing and what technologies you want to introduce.
And
Now,
can I, if it's
yeah,
okay, if I can just add a point.
yeah, sure.
Sometimes also if you're looking at the health sector or pharma, sometimes don't think about it. Maybe you're sorting out a solution for the pharmaceutical sector. Remember, we're
Mm,
dealing with health as a whole. Think of
exactly.
issues, let's say, around counterfeit medicine or poor
Mm,
quality food, or people want to trace their food from one source to an end source. You're finding that there are multiple people who are using technologies. Nowadays, you can order vegetables or even online fresh ones, making sure that it's good quality. So
mm,
this is related to nutrition. This is still
yes.
all health related. So you can come up with a number of solutions that are targeted toward the healthcare industry, which still have downstream effects in terms
Mm.
of our industry. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You've actually given me
Yeah.
an idea, which I'm going to sell to you later.
Nice.
But no,
No, right.
I think that's uh,
I
that's
will talk.
that's that's great. Now, we need to speak a little bit more about some of the inventions that you might know. Maybe in Zim, it could be somewhere else. I've realized lately that the countries like Kenya, Rwanda, um, South Africa, they are quite advanced now with regards to the health sector inventions and great innovations that they're creating or they're coming up with. Now, it could be in the form of platforms, it could be in the form of drones or drone technology, telemedicine, like you mentioned before, and so on and so forth. What do we have currently in Zimbabwe? Um, something
Yeah.
that we could say we are proud of at the moment.
Yeah. When I think of the last big digital health initiative, I think this is a tough one. But I guess with Econet, maybe there'll be a larger one where they did start the Maisha Health app.
Okay.
I think that's the last main big one that I can really think of. But within the pharmaceutical industry, you also have this a colleague of mine who's actually started an app where
Hmm.
you can procure, like not procure, where you can maintain dangerous drug records for the industry. So it's an online system. So it's moving from a manual system and record for keeping your narcotics and dangerous drugs to go to an online system. So you've
Okay.
got that there. And then there's also another doctor who's also started a system where you can have, I think, doctors and pharmacists and any healthcare professional can have an app where they can track their points, their continued education points uh, on a yearly basis. I think, as you know, healthcare professionals have to keep up a certain number of points in order to continue to be registered. So they can go online, get educational material, upload in terms of if they've attended any courses, and it can be in one simple app. Then every time once they need to register to the regulator every year, they can actually send it there. But you're getting, I think, pockets of these, I think, sort of coming up.
Hmm.
One key thing that I can say, I know when you mentioned, I think Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria, you find that the innovation hubs there, I think, operate different. And I think even the VC culture, the investment culture is also
Hmm.
quite different. So this
Yeah.
is what you need now to come even here. I think recently I even spoke to a lady who was running an incubation hub that's in Ghana, where they're
Hmm.
focused specifically on the health sector, and all their I think entrepreneurs that they work with help create apps that are geared towards that. You found, like, for example, the one that you mentioned in Rwanda, that's Zipline. So I know one of the pharmacists there.
Yeah.
And they've actually done a good job, because you look at the terrain of Rwanda and the need for drones and the need to be able to get people quickly. So one of
Hmm.
the key products they'd started with was, I think, blood products. Because remember, sometimes when ladies give birth, sometimes they
Yeah.
can lose a lot of blood if someone has an accident. So once you use a drone, it can quickly get there. But you have to think that, look, let's not just copy and paste solutions, because I think that won't get us where we want to be. Let's see where
No.
the gaps are in terms of our own industry. And remember, we're not starting from zero. We've got
That's
health
true.
records somewhere, we've got pockets of information here and
The
there, but it's
infrastructure
all a
is
very decentralized system.
yeah.
So we need to figure out what exactly are we solving, and also the information we need to also realize where is it also kept. So we need to make sure, in order to get, I think, robust technologies, there's also certain, I believe, even regulations that sort of slightly need to come into play. Whether you're looking
Hmm.
at telemedicine laws, so that you can protect people's records, and
Yeah.
certain even security measures that need to be taken. Because remember, you're now going digital; anything can happen. So you want to make sure that you've also protected people's information. But yeah, there's a lot of scope in terms of what can be done. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I've been watching videos for Zipline. I think that's an amazing innovation that is taking place there.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
there is more as well. I think I've seen another company in I think it's Rwanda, not Rwanda, it's Tanzania. I think they've got mobile pharmacies, so
Mm.
they can go to villages and stuff like that. Remote villages,
Oh
spend
yeah.
a week out there, and people can access their medication and stuff like that. From they're just nice initiatives that can actually
Yes.
make sure that everybody is getting the dose medications without having to come to some pharmacy in town from Bingham. You know,
Yes,
uh,
and also, you know what? I think, look, I've also worked on a bit of I did a bit of a mapping exercise. I don't know if you saw some of the results.
mhm,
I think on the last podcast, where I did share a map, I think, of the whole country, and then you can see the number of pharmacies and where they're spread. I just took inspiration from what they've done with, I think, COVID-19 and how they're mapping it. And then I did a short course in that geographical information systems mapping. Then I also got some support and help from an aunt of mine who also works in this area. So
mm,
the good thing, you could map out that of 811 pharmacies that are there, this is mainly your private pharmacies spread out in Zimbabwe. Where are
811.
they? Yes, you could see where exactly are they on the map, but you could see
Wow.
most of them are concentrated in the urban towns, Harare and Bulawayo. But what you found over the past few years is that you've been getting an increase in some pharmacies in the more underserved areas. So sometimes I know it's easy to look and say, okay, why are the pharmacies not there in town? Why are they not here in the rural areas? Why are they not in this place? But I think sometimes the key part is also to understand even the economic drivers. Even if
Mhm.
you're looking maybe at road infrastructure, is it also easy to get there? If you're looking
Mhm.
at, remember, if you're storing products like your insulins and your vaccines, you need to
Yeah,
make sure you have some sort of power and electricity or
true.
solar to make sure that these products are kept at cold chain. So there's a number of factors, but I think if the right incentives are also created, and this is
Mhm.
what you find with a lot of the startups, like whether it's M-Pharma or the ones that are there in Ghana and Kenya, and how they're working in underserved areas. And a lot
Mhm.
of like NGOs, you're finding that they're helping in the space where they also help support such initiatives. So if you can get something similar here, you can get a lot more last mile solutions. I think that's the category they fall into. And a
Mhm.
lot of medication will be personalized and delivered to the people. But these are also projects that you need to be very intentional about, even as I think a country and as a group of people, so that you can have people who are encouraged to go there. Remember, they're professionals who are very graduated and they're working, but you've also
Mhm.
got graduates who are also coming into the system. So it's
True.
about seeing that how best can you work with that mix of people. Yeah.
I think that is very true. What we might need to be looking into is the collaborative networks,
Yes.
especially within your sector, and also understanding that we've got nurses, we've got doctors that
Oh
are
yes.
actually
Yeah.
best in the rural areas. We've got clinics that are there already. And
Mm.
one of the things that actually made me think twice about the lack of networking and the lack of collaboration, especially in Zimbabwe, is one time when I visited my rural home in Rusape. I went to this hospital called Rugoi. It's We used to walk there. We used to walk there. It's almost about how many? I think we're talking of maybe 10 miles, 10 kilometers
Oh
away
yeah.
from my
Wow.
homestead. So it does serve, I think it's got massive area or radius of roughly about, maybe it caters for 20-mile, 20-kilometer radius, thereabouts.
Oh wow. Yes.
So there isn't any other, small clinics around it. And
Mm.
there is that lack of, supply in terms of medication and stuff like that. Most of the times when you go
Mm.
there, you're only given painkillers, and yet
Mm.
you're suffering from something different that really needs some diagnosis or a different type of medicine, intervention.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Mm.
I believe that to have those initiatives would actually help a lot of people that are deprived of those facilities. And
Oh yes.
you're able to
Def-
simply go there, you diagnose maybe online, a doctor diagnose you, and then they can actually maybe write a prescription. They do write a prescription. There's a small pharmacy, a mobile pharmacy which is close by. You don't need to actually go to those physical hospitals or clinics. You can simply go and buy
Yeah.
your medication as prescribed, and be in a position to maybe survive the illness. So I think there's so many things that could
Mm.
be done, but there is
Yeah.
need for collaborative.
Yeah. I think there are layers of issues and ways to deal with. I think even let's find a way to make the most of our human resources. Even
Yeah.
if you're thinking, not every place needs to be run by a pharmacist.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
you've got different categories and levels. Some clinics can just run with a nurse, and then a doctor comes here and there, depending
mhm.
on the type of severity of illnesses that they're dealing with. But it's also about making sure that we also now deal with, I think, a layer and a host of issues that are there. Because in terms of, I think, spread and the numbers, there you might find that the physical infrastructure might be there, but it's also about supporting and making sure it's working at its most efficient state.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's something that needs to be looked into, and I'll give
Yes.
you that
So
task.
many things.
That's a
Yeah.
task. That's not my task. But anyway, we can try to put the information out there, and people that are interested in wanting to sort of do those kinds of things, do those kind of projects, and sort of connect with you and whoever is within the health sector, they're free to do so. It's
Yeah.
important for us
Yeah.
to work together to make sure that those things do happen. Now, moving away from pharmacy, pharmacist, pharmaceutical medicine, and so on and so forth. Um, you recently started a podcast, and this is Healthy Conversations. That you've got almost about three episodes out so far. Most of them are on YouTube. In fact, all of them are on YouTube. Um, and some of them we can actually access them on your website, which is healthyconvos.co.zw.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's displayed at the bottom. Right. Can you tell
Yes.
us a little bit more about why would you want to get into, dispersing information through podcasts? What actually made you want to go into that space?
Oh, wow, that's a good question, and I never thought about it. I'll tell you, it's a bit of a bold move, um,
Yeah.
but sometimes I was thinking you have to get people and in the spaces that they are. So if you're now thinking about the way we consume information, I mean, we spend a lot of time maybe on WhatsApp sharing different information and messages as friends, family, and in different groups. And so I also thought, look, why don't I also contribute to some content or quality
Mm,
content around the spaces that I'm in, and also find that, look, let's find also a decentralized, I guess, platform where you can sit and we're not waiting for the next healthcare conference to sit down and discuss a big issue, but we're also
exactly.
talking amongst ourselves. And these are the conversations that we share. I
Mm,
think soon enough, I'm also going to unpack a lot more. It's not just the pharmaceutical industry, but it's all matters that are around health. So soon enough, we'll even have conversations. We're talking to patient survivors. They're going to explain some of the conditions that they have been through and what they were suffering. We'll also just give some education about, people's conditions. So, for example, someone will come and have a discussion about diabetes. What is diabetes? This is a growing problem. Some of the symptoms and signs to look out for, even for your loved one, how to care for them, how they can
mm,
be tested. So it's more of just trying to help in that way. And I
wow.
think with the recent pandemic and the amount and level of content of information, misinformation, and disinformation, I think I felt it, I think, imperative as myself, as someone who's got a bit of the knowledge when it comes to the medical field, to also
Mm,
get out there and involved and start discussing, matters around health. I mean, it's not medical information that we're giving out there, but we're also trying to be supportive, even on top of what they're getting from whether it's their doctor. And it's also a way for us to change the way the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical sector is viewed, because sometimes people don't understand maybe the issues, or they don't see what is actually going on within the industry. So it's a way to also, deconstruct and, be able to share that, and to have all amazing people that we sit down with, and a number of Zimbabweans that we sit down with and discuss. It's also quite inspiring. And hopefully soon enough, I might engage on using platforms like this, like hopefully StreamYard, get to in touch with even other Zimbabweans who are also abroad in the diaspora, working in the healthcare space, and they can share their stories also. Yeah.
You know what? That is impressive. It's very impressive, Nyasha, to tell you the least. And the reason why that is because you only started about a few weeks ago, um, and I've seen the traction that you've already made within your sector. There's a lot of people or guests that you've brought onto the show, um, learned people, very much. They know about this sector. Some of the things that we don't even know. Some of the issues that your sector is facing, and some of the things that you are doing to sort of make things better. As a collective, I think this is quite important that you have a podcast to sort of you know speak to people like us that do not really understand what's going on. Even though you're speaking to other professionals within your sector, but I believe that there is need for collaboration for other people that are outside of the pharmaceutical sector or the health
Oh,
sector to sort of come
oh
in
yes.
and also share some information with regards to what's really happening around them. So
Hmm.
one of the most or some of the most interesting things that I've also gotten from the conversations that you've been doing, especially on the last one, was the issue of research, right? Understanding how to carry out research, and also understanding how to sort of read data, understanding what exactly does data mean, and also how do we store our data, you know Are we sharing it? Is it collaborative enough? Is it decentralized? Can we centralize it? Can it be accessible so that other people would actually be in a position to get some information that would help us to maybe put through to innovations that we would like to come up with? Because if I want to come into with an innovation of sorts within your sector, I need some data, I need some information. But then it's very difficult when the information is decentralized. So we need to be in a position where we can actually find a way to centralize this information, but also making sure that we have to protect some of this information that we're sharing, and it shouldn't have to be accessed by anyone really, because if that happens, then that's a breach of information regulations and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's interesting. I like what you're doing. I like what you're doing. What do you? What's the response so far? What's the response so far?
Oh, you know what? I think now just thinking about it, I think one of the other key initiatives in the health sector, I think that has come up. Sorry, I'd overlooked this one.
That's fine.
If you look up Health 263, so they're the one of the big people who came in with regard to biometric scanning and being able to send through your prescriptions online, and the pharmacies even could send their claims online. Remember, it was getting rid of the paper-based claims, and they could come in and help with the medical funders, and then it helps the system. So I think that's also one of the big key parts of tech. Sometimes you find that you need to find, I think, a space in terms of what you want to change. I think big guys like that, when I think of Health 260 and what they did, they changed a lot in the industry. Remember,
Okay.
here there's still a lot of paper-based systems. So it's not
Mm.
so easy if you're going to say, okay, no, we need data, we need it today, we need it now. You also need to go through the process. And okay, if you're going to collect the data, how are you going to sort it? How are you going to arrange it? And make sure that you've also got quality data. You also need quality surveillance centers or institutions that are also there to curate this information. Because what
Yeah.
are you also then curating this information to do?
Mm.
There are a lot of advantages and key ways that you can use all this information and data. So, say, for example, if you're to track the usage of certain products in the market, you can see maybe where there's certain outbreaks or there's an overuse of a certain antibiotic in a certain area or certain
Yeah.
painkiller is being abused. You'll be able to pick this up if your systems are also in a way centralized. If we think about where you are right now in the UK, you've got the NHS. This is a
Mm.
very intentional investment into a system like that, where you're
Yes.
looking at, look, let's actually figure out the data, what data we're going to collect, and you have key milestones that you track in order to make sure that you get the information you want. So I think when it comes to some of these interventions, look, I'm always excited about anything to do with data and information and getting to analyze your numbers and seeing how it
Yeah.
helps our health outcomes. But I'm also aware of sometimes the system and environment and the baby steps that we might need to take in order to get there. Remember, not everyone is also connected yet. And you
Mm.
need, like, as you mentioned, to think about the security side. So I think this is work in progress, but the good thing, we're not starting from zero.
Yeah.
I can always, like, once we're done with here, I can share some information. I don't know if you're aware of the digital health strategy that came out. I think there's even another recent one that did come out.
No, I
I can
haven't
share
actually
that
read it.
information with you.
Okay.
Sorry?
Yeah, I haven't heard
Yeah,
of it, but
I can.
that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Okay, yeah. So there's like even a digital health strategy that's in place. So if you see, I mean, there's an ICT department within the Ministry of Health. So some of this information you can see, okay, what are the things that they want to work towards, and how
Mm.
can you align yourself and help that? Even recently, there's now the National Health Strategy document. You can see a lot of information where they talk about, what they do want to do with in regards to technology, logistics and management information systems, seeing how products are moving. So these are all pockets and places that you can invest, but you also need to address the gaps within the systems before you
Yes.
then launch then your bigger product. Yeah. Because sometimes it's nice to then say, oh, I would love to have the next app in a rural area to address medical supply. But then are you addressing connectivity? How are you going
Yeah.
to get there?
Mm.
Like
Yes.
infrastructure, roads, network. But it's work in progress where you need to figure out, okay, what can I do even in baby steps? Even if I've got a certain portion of the community that I'm helping, how
Mm.
best can I do that? Then you start from there. Yeah.
This is the reason why I always speak about networks and collaborations. I don't know how many times I've mentioned this in this discussion.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
it's always critical for our people to understand that you cannot do these things alone. You know,
Definitely.
it's very important for us to be able to share this kind of information and be. You never know I mean, in whose ears it's reaching, because there's some people that are actually have been waiting for this moment to really understand how can I be involved in this kind of sector for me to be doing one, two, three, four things. It could be funding, it could be anything really. But then as a country or as a people, we need to be able to engage in
Oh
conversations that are very
yeah.
important, like the ones that we are doing now. But also, we need effective networking systems, not only to be networking, not
Oh
only to
yes.
be collaborating and stuff like that, but we need some effective collaboration systems, um, and that should
100%.
be outside of us having these sort of meetings, but having proper connections or having discussions or sessions that would actually mean proper networking. So we need to have 15, 16, 17 people on this session finding out solutions to the challenges that we are facing. Maybe an
Yeah.
investor would be there, maybe an innovator, a pharmacist like yourself, and so on and so forth. We need that collaboration. We need effective
Yes,
collaboration.
and what I can just add to that, Tunda, is just I think sometimes we need a proper investment case and even bankable business cases that we can sit around, we work on and say, all right, this is what we want to do and this is what we want to see. Because remember, the future also lies in our hands. We also can't
Oh, yeah.
sit and hope that, look, maybe it's someone else going to come, maybe. And also now at this stage, it's going to be the next innovator, maybe from, I don't know, Ghana or Rwanda, who's going to come in with that same innovation and
Yeah.
launch it on this market. And yet, someone here, I'm sure, has the idea and has the passion. But it's also about trying to say that, look, let's also sit together, we network, and make sure that we create, I think, certain key, even investment cases. If you have something, look, I'm willing to even just read through, look through. And if I can recommend here and there who you need to speak to, I can possibly can do so. Yeah.
Wow. No, thank you so much, Ash. I think we've got a lot to discuss after this session.
Yes,
After the
I
podcast.
think we do. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So
Yeah.
you you guys have been looking into some rich content. Your podcast has got some amazing, amazing, amazing content. I don't want to lie to you or try to sort of make you feel like giving you credit that is not there. But to be honest, I
Uh,
think your content is amazing, and it should have to go outside of the circle of the health sector. It needs to go out there.
oh,
You know, everybody needs to listen to it. Everybody needs to listen to those discussions, because health in itself is very, very important. If
yeah.
we are a nation that is ill or a nation that is not feeling so well, it would affect our production, it affects our economy, it
Oh,
affects
yes.
almost everything. So we need to be a healthy population. And
Yes.
for us to do that, we need to start speaking about how can we be a healthy, a healthy nation. And it starts with these conversations that we're having on your podcast. You know,
Yes, definitely.
so I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And people that are
Yes.
watching, please go and see it. Do go and check it out. Go and check it out.
Yeah, and Tendai, what I can always just say is that, look, I think when I did create it for Healthy Conversations, it was not necessarily just for healthcare professionals, but anyone who's interested in just health,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and everyone should be interested in health, because health is wealth. It's an investment in yourself. I
Mm,
think
mm.
good healthy system leads to economic development. It also just leads to better efficiencies. As a nation, people can also function better. So it's
Yes.
actually quite important to make sure that people do prioritize their health. And then if you go back and you even think about the definition of health, remember it's mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. We're not just
Oh,
talking about when someone is not feeling well. So
yeah.
even think about even the plight of mental health. and you're looking at substance abuse, that is even a big thing that is affecting so many people. Even if you're looking at the spiritual side, that's something that I think can be affecting a lot of people. So it's about trying to think that how best can we just work in improving people's just well-being. So anyone who's interested in anything to do with health, I think definitely tune in. You've got even a loved one affected by that way, definitely tune in. By the way, when I talk about medicine, I am not just talking about conventional medicine. Remember, I think we're still a market that's also quite big on traditional medicine. Herbal
Yes.
medicine is also a big thing. I think a large percentage of the globe, people do still use a certain form or aspect of traditional medicine. So you need to just find a way to put this into circular systems, because I think we do have, I think, the pockets of knowledge just spread out in different places. I think look at the Zumbani situation and
This is
what
my
happened there.
situation.
I mean, yeah, so I mean, you've got different places where you could possibly find solutions. So I think it's time to use all this information, to use all this data to sometimes find solutions for us as people in Africa, not necessarily do a copy paste, but also to figure out how best can we create even self-sufficient healthcare systems. And
Mm,
as you've mentioned, it requires a whole team effort. Even if we're talking about exercise, that's physical health. We're not waiting for someone just to get sick. So
exactly.
a wide variety of things that we'll be talking about. Yeah.
Wow, I can't wait to hear some of the topics that you're going to come up with. I don't know. How do you choose these topics? Is it something that you prepare for a long time, or you ask people around you, or is it something that you just come up? How do you choose the topics? Because they seem
Oh.
amazing.
Yeah, I know yeah, I just come up with them. I don't really have
You
a
just come
method.
up with it. There's no research,
I
whatever.
don't have
You
a
just come
method
up
to
with it.
the topic. But I think a lot of it is inspired by my own career path and the challenges that I've seen.
Mm,
And so I've got the different pillars in the ways that I think we can help work on things. So if we're talking about public health as an area, if we're talking about manufacturing is the way to learn from. If we talk about, just health and wellness and educating people is also a pillar. If we talk about just business and entrepreneurship, which is something that anyone can understand. So
yeah.
you want to make sure that you break down topics in a way that's also simple and if easy for anyone to understand. So
Mm,
for me, I was just going along with that and just coming up with topics. If it's something to do with regulatory and legal, it'll fall into there. Then I'll build up upon that. But I've just sort of sorted out in the key pillars, and then hoping that from there I'll move from there and work on it. And then yeah, soon enough, I also have some people who will be discussing a bit about digital and IT and some of our supportive industries.
yeah.
I also do want them to come on board, because I think when it comes to the concept of business and entrepreneurship,
Mm,
anyone can relate to that. When you just
true.
even discuss health or sickness or illness, or even just physical health and
Mm,
wellness, anyone can relate to that. So I also wanted to make sure that it encompasses a wide variety. So I just come up with the topics as we go and hope
yeah.
that the guests also, do come on. So I think I'm looking forward to also getting some more guests. They can use my website if they want to, log on. My phone number is the same on any of my companies, by the way, and on
Awesome.
my Facebook page. So you can look it up on the websites. I think every site has got a Facebook page, so you can feel free to just get in touch if you do want to chat. I'm quite responsive on my LinkedIn and on my phone. Yeah, but thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're about to finish. We're about to finish in a few minutes. Should be done. Should be rounding off now. Just to add to what you've been saying with regards to you know, healthy foods and stuff like that. I had an interview with Nyara Zafiwai from Yanaya Healthy Style,
Yeah,
and
she's doing amazing work, eh? Yeah.
she's doing amazing. She's doing absolutely. She's killing it. Actually, she's killing it big time.
Yeah, she
And
is.
I'm loving the way she's doing it because
Mm,
she is coming from an angle which you mentioned as well, to say that you don't need to be looking at health as one size fits all. There's various other areas that we need to be looking into. I don't have to be a pharmacist to be talking about health. I don't need to be a doctor. I don't even need to be in the medical field for me to be able to be speaking about health. There's so many areas that
mm,
we can tackle and still collaborate and still be doing almost similar things to achieving the same goals as what you guys are achieving. So it is very
Yeah.
important for us to do that. Next week I'll be having a gentleman from Glide Time, Leslie, I've forgotten his surname now. Leslie Marange from Glide Time Foods.
Yes.
So he's doing amazing. Well, he's doing amazing as well within his sector. Obviously,
Yes.
it's a healthy sector as well. You know what I mean? Because we're talking about healthy
Yes.
food.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, exactly.
I don't know
Exactly.
why I'm doing this, but it's not like I like food so much. It's simply because I think there's a lot that is taking place now. People are looking after their health a lot more than before,
Yeah.
which is quite
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah,
But
and I think one thing I can just add to that. Remember, there's a saying that let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food. So when you're thinking
yes,
of health, it's not just medicine that you take. Even food and our own nutrition also
mhm,
contributes to that. That's why even when you think about your environment and how it affects your health, the water that you drink and the atmosphere that you're in, a lot of things can affect your health. So I think it's a combination, and I really like what I think both Glytime Foods and Yanaya are doing in terms of that space, because that's a way where you get to people, I think, on a day-to-day basis, and where
mhm.
people are getting their nourishment. So I think it's quite important that they also spreading the message there of health. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I would like to appreciate you, Nyasha, for coming through. Thank you so much. We are
Thank you
looking
so
forward.
much.
No, thanks to you. Thanks to you for accepting to come onto the show. Um, Next episode, when is it coming in? When is it coming through?
The next episode is coming on the 28th of November. So on Sunday,
Okay.
we've got a very amazing and interesting topic.
Oh
We've
yeah.
got two pharmacists who are in regulation. So they're going to be
Okay.
talking about, safe regulation itself as a role in the career, and just talking about, safety when it comes to the use of medicine. And they'll touch a bit about on drug abuse. Yeah. So it's going to be quite
Oh,
an interesting show.
that's a very
Yeah.
interesting. That's a very interesting topic, especially with regards to to the regulations that really bind your sector. And also drug abuse has been an issue that has been going on for quite a long time, especially when you're looking at uh, young boys and girls drinking all these, I don't know what they're called. What do you call them? What do you call them? What do you call them in your language?
All this, all these concoctions like bronco.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but you
Bro,
understand even the issues that are happening. I think as a region, I mean, sometimes you find that something is allowed in one region and it's a legitimate medicine, but it's unfortunately abused in another region. But there's a lot of things that you understand and get to
yeah.
know about, regulation and seeing what we're
Fantastic.
doing in the industry. Yeah.
I'll definitely tune in. I'll definitely tune
No,
in
but thank you
because
so much, Tanda. I love what you're doing on the show. Hey. Yeah.
thank you. Thanks to you, and keep on going with your summer pharmaceuticals as well as your podcast. All the best. And I look forward to speaking to you some other time when I don't know, whenever you're free, whatever time. But I'm hoping to collaborate with you at some point, working on some of the innovations that could
Yeah.
actually assist the pharmaceutical sector. So thank you so much, and have a very good night. We appreciate you, and thanks for
All right.
coming. Yeah.
No,
Have a very
thank you
good
so much,
night,
Tanda.
Nyasha.
All right.
Everybody who's been watching, please do
All right.
subscribe. Go and check out what Nyasha is doing. Amazing stuff. And thank you so much, guys, for watching. Have a good night. Night, Nyasha.
All right. Good night.